And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I am talking with Josh Cunningham. Josh, thank you for spending some time with me today.
Certainly. It's a pleasure to be here on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, you are welcome. It is going to be a great conversation. Josh does something that I don't know, Josh, that I've ever had anybody on the show that talks about building a company culture that can actually create revenues and profits for a business. And so I'm really super excited about it. You've got a phenomenal background. You've got a company called Rockerbox, which I love that anyway. And we'll put all this in the show notes so people can find you. But talk to me, tell me about, as we get ready to take this dive into culture and things, how in the world did you get to doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, it's a great question. I always grew up with that entrepreneurial spirit. I always knew I wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah.
I don't make the best employee of somebody else. And really, I just, the idea of creating of something and a fantasy of yours and putting it into reality and making it into existence was always something I was attracted to. So I went to school at Texas A&M University, got a degree in entrepreneurial business management. The first handful of jobs I had out of school were not rewarding, didn't really find my calling, didn't really feel satisfied in the work that I was doing. But, that all changed one time on a lucky trip to Las Vegas. So not sure any fans of Las Vegas out there, but no, I didn't strike the jackpot, but I made a connection with another business owner, entrepreneur, and CEO of a marketing firm in the real estate space. And, I saw the opportunity there. I took a leap of faith, joined his scrappy little startup business. And the reason why was it gave me the opportunity to travel the country and go to all these different real estate events and seminars and masterminds and be around some of the most successful people in the space. And, there's a lot of cliches about what it takes to be successful, but ultimately, if you want what successful people have, you've got to do what they do. Absolutely. And if you want to know what they do, you have to be in close proximity to them. So I took this leap of faith, joined this marketing firm, was traveling the country, going to all these different real estate events. And in every room that I was in, I heard the exact same common frustration. And for many real estate teams and agents, it was lead follow-up and speed to lead. So all these agents were generating all these online leads and had nobody to follow up with them. And so, like any good entrepreneur, if anybody ever has a good business idea and they want to run it by you, just ask them this one question: what problem do you solve? And so I knew if there was a bunch of people that shared the same problem, if I could find a way to solve it, then I would have a great opportunity to create my own business. So 10 years ago, in the summer of 2013, I started working with my first client to help her solve this problem, which was to find a way to follow up with these internet leads. And I had the vision of hiring students from my alma mater, from Texas A&M. And, fast forward 10 years later, we've now hired and trained over 400 inside sales assistants, and which are all Texas A&M students. And we've handled over 3 million internet leads. And we've helped our clients close hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate transactions. And I really say that our secret to success is three things. Now, the first is you got to have good systems in place in your business. And a system is hopefully something that you've done before, you've been able to document it and now duplicate those efforts and results. And besides just having the playbook, the blueprint, what is the system? You've got to have someone to obviously execute that on a day in, day out basis. And so you've got to have really good talent. That's key number two. And talent that wants to come in and feel fulfilled by their work and grow in the work and contribute. And the ultimate, foundation of all of this is the third key to success, which is having a rock solid 5-star company culture. Because without a good culture, the systems and the processes and the talent, they'll come and go. The culture is the lifeblood. It's the foundation of your business, that people subscribe to the beliefs, they follow your vision. And in our case at Rockerbox, over the last 10 years, we've been able to take the work that nobody else wanted to do, and we hired a generation of talent that doesn't typically have a great reputation for being hard workers. Millennials and Gen Z. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason why we've made it a success is because we've made the work fun, we've made it meaningful, we've made it fruitful and rewarding for everybody involved. And so that has really been our secret sauce. And as I've continued to travel the world and go to continued education events and speak on podcasts and speak on stage, I find that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners struggle with that. They think of culture as like a nice to have thing, Maybe when the crazy hectic, day to day kind of settles down, then I'll work
Right.
on developing a company culture. But the reality of the situation is culture exists. Whether or not you have an impact on it is the question you need to ask yourself. And so when it comes to driving massive profits and freedom in your business, culture is going to help you attract and retain top quality talent.
Yep.
How many of you ever had made a bad hire before? Well, it could have been a culture issue, or even worse, how many of you have ever made a good hire and you lost that key person in your organization? A
Right.
lot of times culture is the answer to that. And it's also going to help you ensure that you deliver exceptional customer experiences to the people who pay your bills, who put food on your table. And you do that through culture, through creating meaning and purpose through the work. And of course, satisfied customers refer you business, and they repeat business, and they put money in your pocket. But ultimately, as an entrepreneur, we get into business seeking more freedom in our life.
Right.
I don't know anybody who became an entrepreneur because they wanted to work 100 hours a week and never be able to clock out and
Yeah.
be constantly grinding day in and day out. But most of us get into business because we're looking for more freedom in our life.
Yeah.
And, if you have a 5-star company culture, that creates freedom in your life because that people aren't just being micromanaged on a day in and day out basis, but you have a group of people who believe in what you believe in, and they'll carry out what's best for the company, what's best for the customer, what's best for the employees on a day in and day out basis, because you're following values and you have that foundation of that rock solid company culture. And I'm a testament to that. 5 years ago, the business operations are in College Station, Texas. That's where we get all of our talent from. But 5 years ago, I decided I wanted to get out of this Texas weather, and I moved my family to San Diego. And for 5 years, I lived in downtown San Diego with my wife and managed the business from Zoom meetings. And then a couple of years ago, when the whole world shut down, we hopped in an RV and we traveled the country for 4 months. And we were able to do that because our culture gave us the freedom to make sure that we didn't have to be there on a day in and day out basis, micromanaging all the decisions in the organization. We had a contagious winning culture that, again, brought in the right people and kept them around and made sure that we were delivering exceptional experiences to our customers.
Man, I love that story, Josh. So many things there. My audience listens to me enough to understand that the trilogy that I preach is systems, people,
Mm-hmm.
and then resources. And in there, so I don't pull out culture like you do, but it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the best, one of the best companies with the best cultures, corporate, and how they treat customers, is Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They've built a culture that you buy something from Amazon, if it doesn't arrive, if it's the wrong thing, don't matter. You call them and they're like, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
We'll credit that. We'll send you another one. You're like, and I talk about that. That's part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
Business owners can do exactly the same thing, but you're right. Business owners think we focus on gross revenues,
Mm-hmm.
marketing, sales,
Mm-hmm.
and we drive our people. And we don't, nobody, dare I say, nobody teaches this, Josh.
Yeah.
We teach the marketing thing. So talk about culture and what does a 5-star company culture look like? What's it feel like? And what would be some of the first steps? But help us out because nobody's talking about this.
Yeah, exactly. And you already, kind of highlighted the real explanation of culture. Culture is something that you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's hard to articulate, it's hard to measure. But as business owners and leaders, we're always, result driven. We've got to get the results. We got to drive more revenue, drive more profits, results, results, results. Well, where do our results come from? Our results come from the actions that we take, right? And where do the actions that we take derive from? Well, that normally comes from the state that we're in, the psychological, emotional state that we're in. If we're feeling good, we're driving good results. If we're feeling bad, we're probably not creating great results. And so where does that state come from, right? Your state is constantly changing, but it's mostly derived from the stories that we tell ourselves, right? The internal dialogue that's going on. You wake up and say, I'm going to have a great day today. It's more likely you're going to have a great day. You wake up and you say, gosh, I'm just such a victim and everything's just terrible and I can't control anything. Well, you're going to find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And those internal stories that we tell ourselves come from the belief systems that we've developed based upon, our upbringings, our parents, our neighbors, our classes that we took, our friends that we had, the experiences that we had in our lives. That's the foundation of our belief system. And so when you think about a business, again, we're all result driven here. Got to get those results, got to drive that revenue, get more sales, get more closings. Well, let's rewind it all the way back underneath the surface into that hidden layer, which is your belief system. And as a business, those are your core values. And so it really starts with, like you said, what does a good company culture start or look like? It starts with having clearly defined core values, and that those aren't just something that you stated once and maybe tested a new employee on their, orientation, and then they just kind of gets thrown to the wayside.
Yeah.
But it's something that actually lives and breathes within your organization. It drives all the decisions that you make, who you're hiring, who you're firing, who you're rewarding, who you're disciplining. And whenever there are conflicts in business, because that's the thing, we're managing human capital assets here,
Right.
I mean, even if you're in a technology business, there's still people that create that technology. And so when there's conflict in the organization, when there's, times aren't going so well, times are going well, but sometimes times aren't going so well. I know a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling right now. And so it goes back to your culture, right? It goes back to those core values and how you're making decisions that either align with and are congruent with those values, or they're not. And that's who you are as a business. So having clearly defined core values, at Rockerbox, we say that our purpose is to move people forward. It's very obvious that we move people forward through the sales pipeline. That's kind of the work that we do.
Yeah.
But the impact that work makes on our clients and on our team members and on me as the business owner, it helps move our lives forward as well. And so when we feel those incongruencies in those business, we feel that frustration, we feel that heartache or that headache, we normally just ask ourselves, is this in alignment with our values? This is in alignment with our mission or our purpose? And if the answer is no, then there's something that has bigger and greater meaning than just the day-to-day activities, the day-to-day efforts and results. But it really comes down to those foundational beliefs. And so a company with really well articulated core values, they really exist. People in the organization know what they are, and they're living by them each and every day. And you're using that to guide, as the Northern Star, to guide all the decisions that you're making within an organization.
Yeah, that's huge. I was talking with somebody the other day. I was listening to a podcast of one of my coaches. He was interviewing some people and the company culture, right? When the pandemic hit, immediately they went to their team, and I don't know, 15 people or whatever, and they took the pulse of the team, right? Everybody was scared, didn't know what was going on. And this entrepreneur, I think he said he gave every person on his staff $1,000 to go out and buy whatever they needed for their family. And he said, what that did is it solidified our values in a very tangible way. He's like, guess what? I still have all those 15 people working for me.
Yeah.
And that's just one example, but that's the culture that he lives. It's who he is, right? And it was there because when your people are fearful of either their job, the future, or what happens if I need to take time off to go deal with my parents? I don't know if I can do that because I've used up all my PTO.
Yeah.
If the culture says family first, we're okay.
Yep.
Right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly. Culture is something that you feel, but then you've got to be able to make them come to life by articulating the actions and the decisions that people make. So one of the things we do at Rockerbox on a daily basis, we start each one of our shifts with a daily huddle. And, it allows us to exchange information and recognize each other for the previous day's accomplishments and set some goals before we start the shift. But each one of those huddles starts with recognition of living by the core values. And so what we actually have done is we've created just a whiteboard with all of our team members' names on it. And then we have the values posted right up there on the huddle board, right? They're posted in many different places in our office, but right there by the huddle board. And we kick off that huddle. So whoever's leading the huddle might say, all right, let's start with some recognition. I'm going to go ahead and start off by recognizing Michael, for possessing the mindset of a champion. That's one of our core values. Yesterday, Michael came in, it was raining, and he rode his bike to work, and he showed up and he was drenched and he was wet, and he rolled up his sleeves and he put in a great effort. And that's what a champion would do. So I want to recognize Michael for living by a champion. And then we would take the magnet of that core value and we'd go put it by Michael's name. And so we start each shift by doing that. And again, that's a good visual representation of these core values exist and they're alive, and people actually use them to guide the decisions that they make on a day-to-day basis. And it creates a lot of fun, friendly competition. Everybody loves peer recognition.
Right.
It's very, very powerful. And then we roll that into a monthly competition. Whoever at the end of the month has the most magnets up there is obviously our living by the wall core value champion. And so it does one of two things. Obviously, it helps create another layer of recognition and reinforce that these values are truly alive. But then also, every organization, no matter how brilliant and amazing you are, you're always still going to have maybe one or two of those bad apples, right? They came through the interview process. They showed you the best version of themselves. They got into the day-to-day routine, and now they're starting to become that feeling that maybe they aren't cut from the same cloth. Maybe they aren't one of us. Maybe they do things a little bit differently, and there's some incongruency. So it's a really easy way of creating that positive peer pressure that, hey, either get with the program and start using these values to guide your decisions and actions, or maybe this isn't the right place for you.
That's right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of employers out there, and everybody has different values and meaning and purpose. And so maybe this just isn't the right place for you. And so it also helps, guide those conversations with people who aren't fitting with the team, who aren't fitting with the organization. It makes it very clear you got no magnets by your name. Nobody ever recognizes you for living by the values, then maybe this just isn't the right place for you. So again, the core values, people always think about it. It's great, the giving and the writing the extra $1,000 check and the putting the ping pong, table in the break room. But I think the reason why people avoid this conversation is because they're like, well, yeah, that's going to cost me more money, or that's going to, I don't want to pay everybody to have snacks on their break, or I don't want to do all these extra things to make people feel better about work. You also got to think about culture as the ability to align the tough decisions that you have to make. So, in those hard times, like same thing with us, when we had to shut down for COVID, again, the decisions that we made were in congruency with the core values that we live by. And so that's how we knew at the end of the day, we're going to sleep well at night, because we know that we made the right decision, because this is who we are at the deep core level.
Yeah. Wow. So many things we could dive into there. That's helping people find a new place. I thought about trades in football, right?
Mm-hmm.
You bring somebody on and they just might not be a good fit for the team you're running. So they trade them to another team and they have success somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's how many times we need to think about, because we're like, I got to fire somebody. Well, nobody likes that. But I got fired a long time ago, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It got me out of the nest into something I really loved, right? So, but having those core values, it's really easy to say, all right, Josh, you've been here for 6 months. You don't have any goal stickers. Here are the core values. How do you see yourself matching up to these core values?
Mm-hmm.
And you have the discussion, and everybody knows. And so how do we help you? Because I really believe, Josh, you are a champion. It's just we're not the team that you need to be on. How do we help you find your team, and you help them find another place, right?
Yep.
And that's core values, though.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk brass tacks here with my audience and things. What type of people work well with you and with Rockerbox, and what would be like that first step? Because I can just see my audience out there right now going, that's me, because again, nobody teaches this. Who do you help? What kinds of business owners can find help at Rockerbox?
Yeah, so we specialize in the real estate space. So real estate agents and teams who generate online leads, and either don't have the resources or the time or the leverage to make sure you're following up with them the right way. It requires a lot of time, a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, a lot of emails. And that's essentially the problem that we solve. And so, we want to make sure that we're in alignment, obviously, with our clients. And we also want to make sure that through our hiring process, we're in alignment with our employees as well. So, one of the tips I give any business owner out there, something that's worked really well for us, is a hiring observation. So in the early days of our hiring, we were growing our team, and we did the standard interview process where we got people's resumes. We did a phone interview, we did an in-person interview, and then we decided, hey, this person's going to be a good fit. Come on in for your first day of training next week. And that was our process until one day we had this young man come in for his first day of training, and we pair him up with one of our more senior reps, and they're walking him through the training process and showing him all the phone calls that we make for our clients, all the scripts that we have to learn, all the objections that we have to, learn how to manage, and all the technology that we're using. And about 30 minutes into his training shift, he gets a little overwhelmed, and he says, hey, I think I need to go to the restroom. Where's the restroom at? And politely excuses himself to go to the bathroom, and poof, disappeared off the face of the planet. We never saw that guy ever again. He probably went running in the parking lot, because what he had realized is that this was not a good fit for him.
Yeah.
And so that's why I recommend to all the business leaders out there that are in any type of position of growing your organization and trying to attract the right people to it, do what we did, which is create a hiring observation. And basically, at the end of that in-person interview, we would tell the candidate, "Hey, Michael, been great to meet you today. Really impressed with your qualifications and the answers to your questions. The next step in our interview process is to bring you back for an observation. We're going to pair you up with one of the most senior reps on our team, and they're going to give you a full tour of our operations. They're not only going to show you what we do, but why we do it and who we are as a company. And this is essentially your interview of us. We want you to ask all the questions so you have a very clear expectation as to what this role entails, what our standards are, right? What our level of performance is going to be like, because it's a high performance competitive environment that we're in. We're calling real estate leads all day, every day for our clients all across the country. And at the end of the observation, we send them home. We say, "Hey, have a great day. Here's our business card. Shoot us an email. Let us know what you think." And one of two things will happen. One, just like the guy who disappeared in the bathroom forever, is we'll just never hear from him ever again.
Right.
And that's great, because now we don't waste the time bringing the wrong people in the organization, hiring someone because they showed us the best version of themselves in the interview. Like, nobody shows up to an interview not trying to get the job.
Right. That's right.
And so you're going to see the best version of themselves. But again, we'll either never hear from them ever again, and that saves us a ton of time, energy, effort, wasted money, the potential that they might ruin the culture a little bit or be a little bit of a disruption. But the other thing that'll happen is we will hear back from them, and we'll basically get a persuasive essay written about all the things they observed, all the things that they are magnetically attracted to, and how they're up to the challenge to really perform in this type of environment. And so I highly recommend all the business leaders out there, if you're bringing on new people to your team, implement a hiring observation so that you can give the candidates an opportunity to really learn and understand what your expectations are, so that they can say, "I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to step up to the plate. I accept the challenge. This is going to grow me as an individual. We're going to grow each other together. The organization is going to grow in congruence with what we have going on here." And so that's one of my biggest tips for making sure you're attracting the right people to your organization.
I think that's great. And that has culture written all over it when you do that, because they're going to understand your culture, feel your culture, eat it up and go, "I like this culture," or "I don't want anything to do with this." Praise God. That's exactly what you want, right?
Yep.
Saves a lot of time.
Exactly.
Cool. So what's the next step? Somebody out there, they're in real estate. I just talked to one of my clients who's in real estate. We're getting ready to publish his book here pretty soon. He's on my mind. I'm like, I just need to connect the dots, right?
Yeah.
So we do that afterwards. How would somebody listening to this connect with, what's the next step for them if they're thinking, "Oh yeah, we need systems big time"? What do they do?
Yeah. So we just celebrated our 10th year of being in business at Rockerbox, and it's spelled a little strange. It's ROKRBOX.com. A Rockerbox is an old gold mining tool used to separate sand and gravel from gold. So essentially, that's what we do with people's internet leads. So if you're in the real estate space, real estate sales or mortgage industry, and you're generating online leads, we can help you convert those to free up your time so you can spend time working with highly motivated buyers and sellers. And then over the last couple of years, through our experiences at Rockerbox, what we've realized and understood is that our culture is something that's truly unique. We call it a 5-star company culture. And so we now work with business owners in any field, really, small business owners, entrepreneurs, C-level executives, to help them implement some culture tools that are going to unlock massive profits and freedom in their life. And you can find out more information on our culture coaching at 5starcompanyculture.com. So just land on either one of those websites and fill out a contact form, and we'd love to be in touch.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to grab both of those, Josh. I'm going to put them in the show notes, because our busy entrepreneurs who are listening to this are out, making things happen, generating revenue and things. So go to the show notes so that you can find rockerbox.com. Love the explanation, because I was like, what in the world? So it's I love that gold mining tool. And 5starcompanyculture.com. They'll be in the show notes. Reach out to Josh, because we've just scratched the surface here on really how important company culture is in so many ways, but when you can clarify your core values, and they don't need to be 22. We have 5 core values in our company.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful because we know them, we communicate them, our team knows them, and it helps us understand why we do what we do the way we do it.
Yep.
And it's just huge. It took us some time. So reaching out to Josh, he's got the process. He can help you. So whether you're in real estate, rockerbox.com, or if you're just a business owner outside of real estate, 5starcompanyculture.com, Josh and his team can help you build that culture that really does generate profits. And at the end of the day, that's why we got into business, because that leads to freedom.
Oh, yeah.
But we want to do it in such a fun way that really brings out who we are and what our company is. So Josh, man, congratulations on doing what you've done. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
thank you for being my guest today. This has been a great conversation.
Certainly. Yeah, it's been my pleasure. It's been a fun conversation. Thanks so much, Michael.